Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Let's Talk Learn Tech podcast with me, your host Pranjali Lahiri. Mobile, is it a noun, a verb, or an adjective? In context of employee capability development, it's the latter. It's how we train our workforce that's on the move, that's dispersed and distributed, and that's working from home owing to COVID or gig economy or both. Let's be honest. Many of us use a second screen while watching TV, but now we're using that second screen to work and learn as well. So how can organizations L&D in particular leverage our affinity to our pocket-sized supercomputers to upskill us in this new normal of virtual and hybrid workplacelessness? My guests for this podcast reveal just that. Join Apurva Halake, Business Analyst Manager, and Harsha Sukrani, Senior Business Development Manager, and me as we uncover mobile learning for the distributed workforce. This year has given us multiple disruptions in the form of COVID-19, remote working, hybrid workplace, digital transformation, the gig economy, so on and so forth. So, in this new normal, how can mobile learning assist continuous skilling and development for employees? Apurva, if you can shed some light on that, it will set a framework for our discussion.
So as you can see that the mobile learning is seizing the e-learning platform. And we know those are the potential benefits of the mobile learning that the organizations value. So if we can start with the enlisting of advantages of mobile learning, so it's like easy to access. So it's the easiest way to access variety of content and exactly when we need it. It is more convenient for people who actually work on field, so like the sales representatives, technicians for that matter, or customer services. For example, just to give if I'm a technician and I'm on the field, I have some issues, I need not wait or call someone else to help me over there. I can simply open my mobile learning app. I can go through the reference materials over there which I had during my training, and I can fix the issue. So it has become very easy for people to do their job, and it also helps in development of their skills. Second is like we can learn anywhere. So I'm traveling, I'm in between meetings, I can simply sit and read, complete my courses, take the trainings. So it's an easy learn anywhere. Then it also encourages collaborative learning. So it you can easily get in touch with your mentors, your colleagues, and then you can discuss on different topics, and then you can share your ideas. And along with that, as you know, that mobile learning is like you need not sit for hours together to complete the training. So mostly the mobile learning is given in chunks and pieces. So it's a bit-sized material for you, which can be easily digested. So it is like you have so short videos, you have short courses, you sit and complete. So the plus point of this is that you end up grasping a more knowledge over there, so which is like more learning. And then again, it is a self-paced learning. It's a learner driven. You can like complete your courses, your trainings anytime you want. And the most important of M learning is that gives you an option to like share your training material to a wider audience. So as you see, we are all working from home. The companies are also like taking the step ahead to allow people to work from home for a longer period. So whenever in such circumstances, the mobile learning helps that you can have a piece of training and you can share it across many people, like sitting anywhere in the country or any location for that matter. So the best things are that you are like, and then it's your own device. It's we are very comfortable with it, and mobile learning in addition with some gamification, it's like perfect user engagement. So yes, that's why I think that a mobile learning is like gaining grounds, as we say.
Absolutely. Mobile devices are personal, they are portable, which is what makes them a pocket sized wonder. So, all of the things you spoke about in terms of the ease of access, anywhere, anytime support of collaborative learning, these are one of the many advantages that mobile learning offers. But what I want to now talk about is the effect of the pandemic on the world of work in particular. Now, for most organizations, it shifted the modus operandi to a remote or a work from home setup in just a matter of days, giving little to no time for L&D to even redesign the employee training strategy. Harsha, how do you think businesses are tackling this remote training by leveraging mobile devices?
So I would say this pandemic actually is a blessing in disguise where people were struggling, where while COVID-19 drastically changed the life of people, it opened a lot of opportunities and channels to cover your different type of training and learnings where companies were struggling. So if L&D activities where companies were thinking that how they can plan the face-to-face trainings, how they can do the ILTs or trainings which meant for on-the-job training, where these were the important factors for traditional companies and plans, where they are not so much comfortable with this online platforms or learning. They kind of not like these technologies because of the traditional channels they are following. This pandemic actually gave them a different way, or LMS platform opened the channels to manage everything online and give them the ease. So for traditional companies, you must have seen that now colleges and universities are also operating for such learning and new type of learning via LMSs, which they were using traditionally. So this actually gave them an ease, or this actually allowed them to do their trainings where they were struggling a lot, where they were not so much comfortable by coming towards the other side of training pattern, that is learning and blended approaches. So somewhere it gave them a boom. It gave them a ease or comfort to go for learning or to go for blended approaches where they were only operating traditionally. And now people are now opening up. They are easily thinking about new types, new channels into learning, e-learning, AI approaches. So just like common examples you must have seen for Netflix, Spotify, people are now opening up for LMS platforms also, so that they take their training online and make it comfortable for their people.
L&D surely had to step out of their comfort zone. As you said, all the traditional approaches that no longer worked in the new normal had to be re-looked at. And you spoke about an important point, even about education. Digital learning from K-12 to even colleges and higher education is now the reality for all of us. And Apurva, I'll come to you with this question. While the situation in corporate is not as grave as in education, where the digital divide is stark and students don't have access to internet at all, how can businesses overcome everyday challenges like internet outages that makes not just remote working, but remote learning and development fall by the wayside? Are there some superpowers in the learning platform that can be leveraged? What do you have to say?
So no connection or poor internet connectivity. Okay, so most people are traveling. So that's the major problem in case of learning when it comes to learning basically. So the offline learning capability, okay, in any learning app, it's crucial and is the need of the day. So you can have the courses, or you can have videos or materials that can be downloaded and viewed by the students or your learners later on. Okay, and whenever they are online, it will again sync up, and then their progress will be tracked in the learning app. So if you can see that the most of the organizations have particular challenge, that is to make their people learn. So almost, as you can see, 49% of people say that we are too much busy to learn at while they are at work. Okay, but also surprisingly, 94% of people say that like if I give time for learning, then my skills and abilities and it will be improved and it will help me in my overall career. So if we give people the ability to download the content offline, and when they're traveling back home or when they're like sitting at their leisure, they can go and view the material and complete their courses, improve their skills. So it will be helpful for them. That's what I think.
It's an interesting duality you mentioned there. On one hand, people don't have the time to learn, and on the other hand, they also see the advantages that learning brings to their own skill set.
Right.
Now, I also think with offline features, since we're talking of that and how it helps in everyday situations where we do not have internet connection or we have a low internet connection, apart from these situations, they can also come in handy for cases like oil and mining, which involves working on rigs. And rigs are offsite locations and often don't even have an internet connection. Additionally, instances such as being on an airplane where you are expected to switch off your data connection, that comes to my mind as
Right.
well. Now let's talk about the collab piece. And this is something that Apurva, you had mentioned at the start of the conversation that mobile learning is important for collaboration. So I think the biggest change for all of us has been the sudden end of the water cooler talks and similar in-person social interactions, which often aid to learning and are critical to being human, so to speak. Again, Apurva, my question to you is, how do you think this has impacted the distributed workforce that no longer engages in person or in flesh communication and collaboration? And what can L&D do to facilitate this?
So, actually, when it comes to collaborative learning, it is helpful because it's a cohort of people who are like sharing ideas, discussing ideas. So, in case of mobile learning apps, you can have something like discussion forums. Then you can have a community formed for the people who are taking the same piece of training. So, they have same sort of ideas exchanged over it. And not only that, they can also get their queries clarified over there, and this continues when once my training is done. Even after, when I'm on job, I can use these discussions or use these discussion forums to get my queries clarified. So it helps you in also self management, and it helps you in your leadership skills. So when I'm a part of group, it's not only that I learn, but I also teach someone something. So if I know a piece of like information, I'll share it with everyone. Okay, it also increases your knowledge because then in a group you have people from different levels and what we say backgrounds from the organization, and then you tend to get knowledge from all of them, and obviously that increases your knowledge. Also, it improves the relationship across your teams and departments, which is like important thing, and the organizations look forward to it. And because, like, if you see, if you read something and if someone explains to you something, you tend to remember more whatever someone has explained it to you. So it gives like more retention over there, so you tend to remember more things, you tend to understand more things when it comes in discussion forums. And like, as I said, like any mobile learning application can have these discussion forums and these communities so that people can share their ideas across the table. And like, I would like to mention that, as you know, there are like generation of learners, as they say, like Gen X, Millennium, and Gen Z. So surprisingly, the Gen X generation, the one born in 1965 to 1980, those 60 almost like 55% of those people think that social and collaborative learning will help you. Now this generation need more help with the mobile learning applications. Still they more tend to like go for social and collaborative learning. And obviously the generations after that, the millennial and Gen Z, who are like very easy in accessing the mobile apps, they obviously look forward for social and collaborative learning. So I think that any good mobile learning app with all these offline features, also collaborative applications within it, a good video conferencing tool, and gamification gives a complete learning experience to any learner.
This reminds me of the 70-20-10 model for learning and development, and this is something we are all aware of. It says that 70% of our knowledge is from job related experiences, 20% comes from interaction with others. This is what we're talking about, the social learning piece. And 10% actually comes from formal education. Now, I know there has been a lot of talk on this 70-20-10 model in the recent past where people are questioning if this is even real for us or not. But in any case, what you say is absolutely correct that most of our learning actually happens in social interactions or in social scenarios where we are not formally assigned a learning path, but we are in our conversations and in our discussions are synthesizing and absorbing information from what's going on. Harsha, I'll come to you now. Employee training by itself has always held the rap of being difficult to measure. There are different models that attempt to measure learning, but now in this dispersed, distributed avatar, it's even more so. So, how do you think L&D can make M learning a little less elusive and more measurable? Do you have some suggestions on that?
Absolutely, yes. As you mentioned about the effectiveness, very important. So, in order to have successful M learning, now we are shifting to new normal where M learning is more into trend rather than going for traditional patterns. It is very important to understand the performance and the measure of training which you have given to your users. So, by providing the learning to your employees just by the devices they are comfortable with, like tablets or mobile, is not enough. We need to know where there is a need. We need to know where there's need to improvement for the employees or the training they are taking anywhere, anytime. So there are some simple steps. There are some ways by which you can actually have the training effectiveness. One is the standard where people say this a lot, Kirkpatrick model, where you cover the learning journey of users by learning, reaction, training effectiveness in terms of on the job trainings and behaviors to see the real outcomes and training results as of required role or designation. But if I compare it with different ways, basic steps of how engaging your platform is, how engaging your system mobile app is where you provide them the time they are spending on the mobile. Like you give them interactive videos, you give them the information that they can read anytime to increase the time they are spending on the systems, on platforms, like they are doing it for just I used the simple example, Netflix. Likewise, if you give the UI UX in such a way to actually have a more time engagement time with the system, gives you via polls and surveys, that gives you one of the step to measure the effectiveness, that is engagement. If you talk about usability, how easy is to use. Now I will again say the platforms you are using on a daily basis. Now we are watching matches, IPL matches on Hotstar, as it is easy and they are looking at the scores anywhere, anytime. If your system is that easy to access, it gives the more usability and the training effectiveness you can check. Now comes to the different concept is efficacy, is the alignment or your outcomes, where you give them the information in different ways, the type of trainings, so that they acquire the specific skills and knowledge. Comes with your assessments or some pretty simple questionnaires that you give them on the mobile app so that they can take it as quizzes. So these are, apart from the standard Kirkpatrick module, these are few of the steps that gives you more clarity on the effectiveness, that is engagement, usability and efficacy, so that you measure the M learning, and which is obviously the new normal, where you are taking care of your training effectiveness and going with the reports.
Absolutely. I think it all points to that one statement, that if you cannot measure it, you cannot improve it. So whether it's the usability or the efficacy, it's important that you have some parameters and metrics in place so that you're able to compare and tweak and have that recalibration as a part of your priority, no matter what happens. My summarization of this conversation is that training needs to be mobile, even while the distributed workforce works from home or anywhere else. And while it seems counterintuitive on the surface of it, it's essential because the way we work itself, it has undergone a massive, massive paradigm shift. And one of the change agents in this has been the deep embeddedness of mobiles in our work and in our life. So L&D needs to capitalize on this opportunity so that learning truly happens in the flow of work. All right, then we are now going to change gears and we're going to get into the rapid fire round. I'm going to give both of you a sentence that you have to complete in the way you deem best fits. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Harsha, the statement is for you. Organizations must support mobile access in order to blank.
In order to achieve more trained people.
Apurva, the next one is for you. Mobile learning for the distributor workforce is essential because
It improves your skill and knowledge base.
all right, that's all from our side. We would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Thank you for listening, you all. See you next month.